Was being a teenager in the early 2020s really so peak? And I'm here to answer that question. Why was being a teenager in the 2020s so peak? Why was being a teenager in the 2020s, the early 2020s, so peak? I'm going to talk about how it felt being a Gen Z teenager in the early 2020s and how Gen Z shaped the early 2020s as a whole. If you was a teenager during the early 2020s, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that feeling that we had during that era. It was really magical. It was really colorful. And we were really ourselves. We were cringe, but we were really ourselves. During the early 2020s, a lot of people, a lot of teenagers was cringe. We were just ourselves. We were just being ourselves. We were expressing ourselves in a way that we never did before. We really was. Dressing all different type of ways. Literally, how people dressed in the early 2020s remind me of how celebrities used to dress on Disney Channel shows back when I was a kid. I'm not even playing. Most of the teenagers during that time are adults now and are no longer teenagers. But we still remember that feeling. We still remember how we felt during that time and how life was during that time because it was only like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? And honestly, Gen Z shaped the early 2020s so much. And we didn't just shape the early 2020s, we shaped how the rest of the 2020s will be for the other teenagers in Gen Alpha. We really did. During the early 2020s, the internet stopped just being for adults, and Gen Z stepped their way into it. And we started taking control of majority of the social media spaces as a whole. Yes, you did have your adults still on social media apps, of course, but Gen Z was taking more of, I guess, more control, but definitely making social media like a better place and more unique in a way. And one of those apps that we really dominated was TikTok. During 2020s, during the early 2020s, TikTok really started to explode and more people was flocking to the app like no other. Like it really was blowing up and everybody was starting to get on TikTok. And me personally, I didn't get on TikTok until like 2020. I would say 2021, 2022 because I still just I felt kind of just I felt like TikTok was a, like a breakup, honestly. Like after they switched to TikTok and got rid of Musically, I just didn't feel the same. I felt like I was going to betray Musically if I go to TikTok, but I eventually got around and went to TikTok and it was dominant. Like Gen Z dominated TikTok during that time if TikTok still be a thing in a couple years. During that era, it was really so colorful. When you look back at pictures during that time, it was so colorful and I don't know what happened to the color, but now pictures today just don't seem that colorful. But if you look back just a couple years ago, it was colorful during 2020, 2021, and even 2022. So much color in one picture and it was crazy. And Gen Alpha was looking at us at that point and they wanted to be us. And during that time, Gen Z was teenagers. We did not know that we was influencing a whole nother generation to want to be teenagers during that time. You know, we wanted to be teenagers during the, 2016, 2015 era, but Gen Alpha wanted to be teenagers during 2020, 2021, 2022 era, the era that we were teenagers. And it is crazy how we just didn't know that we were literally like making the kids want to be us during that time. And they're going to be trying to replicate that. Re- ugh. They're gonna try to recreate that. Um, when they become teenagers, when all of Gen Alpha are teenagers, we started so many trends. We did so many new things during that time, and we really shaped the early 2020s as a whole. Gen Z really did shape the early 2020s as a whole, and I feel like we could only do that because we were really our authentic self. We were truly just being ourselves and having fun that we made the moment iconic. We really did make the moment iconic and we didn't just shape the early 2020s as a whole, but we shaped how everybody viewed the 2020s. literally after the 2020s are over, they're going to be looking at the early 2020s like it was completely different than the rest of the 2020s. But when we look back at it, the whole 2020s will be there and we will look back at it and we will be like, wow, well, the 2020s are kind of more like the early 2020s than we thought, because we shaped that. Gen Z did. And it's crazy to me to think about it, honestly. But um if you enjoy this video and you want to see me talk about some more stuff that comes to your mind, comment down below and yeah, I mean